Hey guys, it's Jen and I'm back with another collection disconnection video. If you remember a few weeks back, I showed you how I was really having on a hand stitching kick, and I hand stitched these flower pieces onto this background paper that kind of reminded me of some of the florals in the kit. And just as a reminder, if you didn't see that video, I used this cut file, which is from my shop, and I think it's called Scribble Roses or Scribble Flower or something like that, to use as a template for my stitching. So I just laid it on here and then poked the holes around it. You could also, if you have the pen tool for your silhouette or for your other cutting machine, I guess, you could, instead of cutting the shape out, you could draw it out onto your paper and then poke the holes. Just draw it with a pencil. So that's how I did that. I used a few different colors of thread, and I'm going to be scrapbooking 3 photos from Easter. I tend to scrapbook a lot of Easter photos lately. I don't know what it is, but they're just fun and bright photos, and so I'm going to be using these 3 photos. I have pulled a bunch of stuff from the kit that has kind of the floral pieces in it because I want to layer them up with these flowers on the side, and so I'll show you how I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and put you on fast forward and we can get to this layout. So I'm going to start this layout by arranging the photos, and I find that when I have some oddly shaped photos that are different orientations, that I like to cluster them like this, where they kind of create little spaces or homes for like my title or my journaling or for different embellishments. So that's what I've done with these. I printed 1 at 3x4 and 2 at 2x3, and you can see there are lots of little corners and edges, and I'm going to tuck things into all of those spaces, and you'll see that as I go along. So I'm taking some of the floral pieces, and excuse me, these were the inspiration for the florals that I stitched, and so I wanted to include as much as I could from those floral pieces on this layout. And so I'm doing some of the puffy stickers, the chipboard, and the transparency there, and I will end up using all of those. I wanted to do the word Easter using these the thickers from the kit, and you'll see in a minute how I'm going to alter those because this doesn't really match or look good against this paper. I found a tag that had that same floral print, so I'm going to use that as well. And now I'm going to work, I think I'm going to work on that title. So as I mentioned, the title isn't quite working for me against that background, so I decided to paint it. And I'm just going to paint it, well, I was going to paint it cream to kind of match the color of that tag. So there's both cream and white in this collection, and so I could have gone either way. So I just mixed a teensy bit of Taxi Mr. Huey's with it to make it a cream color because that's what I had handy. I do have cream paint, my white's on my desk because I use it often. So I'm just using a cheap paintbrush to paint that on, and I'm going to let that dry. And this is what took really, after the stitching, that's what took the longest about this layout. It really came together quite quickly besides watching paint dry. So I start adhering things down pretty quickly, and I'm just putting those photos in a way that I mentioned before so that there's little spaces where I can tuck things in. So I've got the journaling in that bottom corner, and then in that corner I just put the floral piece, and then in the top one I put another little floral piece. So you can see kind of how I covered all those corners up. So that's a good way to use kind of these oddly oriented photos. I thought I might tuck that other little circular journaling tag up there, but I decided not to. So I'm just painting another coat on my Easter title there because you could still see some of the pattern below it. And now I'm trying to decide what else I might want to add in here. So I know I want to use that Just Be You because the funny thing that I'm pointing out here, these are our Easter favorites. The things that are my favorite things about Easter is taking a photo of all of the grandkids, and then the new favorite is this little egg roll that we do down the hill. And so the Just Be You kind of is pointing out the fact that these kids, we can never get a good photo of them, and we just let them do what they're going to do now. So it's kind of funny. So I'm looking through all of my embellishments to see what else I might want to include, and I pulled a couple of pieces from the dimensional embellishments that are like the layered and stitched stickers, and I'm going to use a few of those. I also pulled out some circles that I had punched out from the 6x6 paper pad for a previous layout. And what I'm trying to do is, those dimensional stickers have kind of a softer tonality to them than like the puffy sticker and the transparency. So I'm trying to get different strengths of color so that there's a kind of a bit of a balance here. So I will end up using 3 of those circles, but I'm going to use the ones that are all the same shade and tuck one of those into each of the clusters. And I do end up using another transparency, that one that says Wonderful Day up at the top, and then I will use 2 of the dimensional stickers as well. So I placed that Easter title over my layout to see how it was looking, and I thought about using that little plant, but decided against it. I found this other piece on the chipboard sheet that had that same floral piece, but it just wasn't going to work here. So I'm going to get that Wonderful Day stuck down, and I'm just going to trim off. It's a tag, but I don't need that hole, so I'm just trimming it off, and then I'm going to stick it through my Xyron, and that's just going to put a sticker coating on the back of it. And this is my favorite way to adhere these transparencies. Now on the flower, since it had part of it tucked away underneath the photo, I just use regular adhesive. So this is kind of where my layout is, how everything's going to end up being laid out. While I'm waiting for that paint to dry, I'm going to do my journaling. Now these are slick tags, and so normally I would use a Sharpie here, but I couldn't find mine, so I'm just using my favorite black Muji pen, and it works absolutely fine. I just have to be careful not to touch it while it's drying. So you can use other pens that aren't slick surface pens, you just have to be careful of the drying time. So just writing how we have some new favorite Easter things. When I document the same thing over and over again, something like this that's a holiday, I like to point out the things that are different from year to year. So here I am testing to see if I like the way that those letters are going to look. And because I'm going to put that Celebrate banner right below them, I kind of decide that I don't want them to be cream anymore. I want them to be white. So I pull out my white paint, and I'm just going to add another layer over the top of these, and I'm going to have to wait for it to dry again. Again, the painstaking paint drying, it was rough, guys. So while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm shaking up some Salmon Heidi Swap Color Shine, and I'm trying to bring out that kind of reddish orangey color that's in the background as well as in some of the flowers. And I'm just sprinkling a little bit in 3 spots on the layout here. And after that dries, it lightens up a little bit when it dries. And now my letters are dry, and I'm going to get them adhered down. And I like the white so much better. It doesn't bother me to mix white and cream, and so it looks a lot better. So because I've been painting and handling those, I'm using my Scotch Quick Dry adhesive in a fine line bottle to adhere those down. And that fine line bottle comes empty, and you just stick whatever kind of glue you want in it. So I really like it. Good for applying a thin layer of adhesive anywhere. So I'm not really worrying too much about whether these are super straight, but I'm using the bottom of my photo as kind of a guide. And then I'm going to let this banner rest over it a little bit. And I did put a little piece of foam in the center so that it had 2 large foam squares on the sides, but it needed something in the center. So I just popped it up a little bit with some fun foam and layer that down on top of it. And I think that's going to complete my layout. I did put the date stamp up at the top, kind of filling in a little space there. Oh, and I'm writing the word favorites with a 0.08 micron pen there. So that is going to finish things off. I just wanted to show you as well that I put some paper behind it since this is thin paper from a paper pad. Thanks so much for watching. Here are some close-up photos. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below, and you can head over to my blog at craftyjenscow.com for more information and close-up photos of this layout. See you soon!